Cada noche estoy recordando el vacío en este apartamento. Me está desesperando mientras sigo bebiendo. Tu recuerdo me abraza. Pasa el tiempo pero tú no pasas. ¿Cómo hago para cambiarme el corazón? La tristeza decora nuestra casa. Yo sé que nadie se muere de amor, pero el trago y no verte matan. No he estado decadencia. A tristeza decora esa casa. Eu sei que ninguém morre de amor, mas cachaça e saudade mata. Assim muero de amor. Mas invito, dímelo chance. É nóis, tu supiste.
Aí se vai mais uma noite que eu tô virando no vazio desse apartamento. Já tô quase tirando. Me bate o desespero, empilando garrafas. Passo o tempo, mas você não passa. Como hago pra cambiar meu coração? La tristeza decora nuestra casa. Yo sé que nadie se muere de amor, pero el trago y no verte matan. No estado decadente que eu tô. A tristeza decora essa casa. Eu sei que ninguém morre de amor, mas cachaça e saudade mata.
¿Cómo hago para cambiarme el corazón?
All right, everyone. Hello. This is Diamond Rivera, and we are back at it with the live discussions with Diamond podcast. And what you just saw was an amazing video by our special guest tonight. But before we get started, this episode is sponsored by DotCreativ Radio as well. This episode will be on Spotify, Google, and other streaming platforms. And today, people, we really do have a special guest. This man here, for me, again, is one of my inspirations in this videography business. Seeing his work over the years, especially in BIG San Diego, his work in Austin and abroad, as well in France, truly are sights to see. And I'm very, very happy here to announce that we have from DotCreativ, Olivier.
Hey, Diamond. How are you?
My brother, first of all, that video was amazing. The one thing I tell people mainly is what I love about your work is that it tells stories. And right there, honestly, was a truly spicy and special story indeed. But first of all, thank you again for coming onto the podcast.
Well, thanks for the invite, and it's an honor to be here and to be able to share my journey. And as I was telling you previously, I'm usually camera shy. I'm more the behind the scene, the camera guy. So being in front of camera is a little unusual for me, but I do my best.
Hey, for me, honestly, I take that as a pleasure and honor for you coming here because as we talked as well, many of the visual artists that we know and love, a lot of times we are camera shy. We love being behind the camera most of the time and love being the one filming the subject, but now we become the subject. And it's a little different, but as we've talked as well, having you on means a lot because besides the work you create, I believe you have an even more better story per se. And for me, at least having you on, we get a chance to really understand your journey, understand the process, understand the success, but really understand it all. So, with every episode that I have, I always, with my guests, of course, we'll talk about the fun times and all the success currently, but I think it's important talking about how it started. So, Olivier, can you give us an understanding of who you are before DotCreativ, before the congresses and festivals, before it all?
Wow. Okay, that's gonna be pretty long. No. Okay, let me start. So as you can hear, I have a little strong accent. So
Yeah.
and it's not an Asian accent; it's a French accent actually. So I was born and raised in France. I lived there until 2015 actually. So 2015,
Okay.
and I moved to the US in 2015. I moved to San Diego in 2015, and that's where I started my American journey, sort of. So born and raised in France, so my mother tongue is French, and yeah, English is I've learned English at school, and now
Okay.
it's been 7 years. I've been here 7 years, yeah. And about the dancing, I mean, I've starting. I think just a lot of people started randomly. Um,
Mhm.
I've started like I was at one point in my life. I think it was by 2010, 2011. I was lost. I went through a bad breakup, and
Mhm.
I didn't know what I was doing with my life. And I was basically staying home and being bored. And at one point, I was thinking, well, let's do something. Let's let's set a goal. Like every
Yeah.
week, try something new. Try something you've never done before. And
Mhm.
that's try a few things like climbing, like I don't know, a few different things. And then at one point I came to cross the salsa class.
Mhm.
So there was a salsa class, so I tried, and it was written it's for beginner. So I went there, it was for beginner. Yes, it was a 10-week cycle. And I
Oh.
went to the eighth week. I
Wow.
was lost. That was horrible. That was
Mhm.
horrible. Everyone were like, what knew what they were doing, and I didn't know what to do. And the first part is usually a footwork part. So footwork part, I was doing all right, let's say. But when the teacher was saying, okay, now you have to pair up. I pair up with the girl. I told her I don't know how to dance, and she was like, yeah, don't worry, that's fine. When she's starting to really see that I didn't know how to dance, she mad face and was like, shoot, okay, I think I'm done with dancing. I'll try.
Wow.
And I gave up for like maybe 2-3 weeks. So that was a tough start. And then 3 weeks later, I had some friends that wanted to try salsa. So I was like, okay, I can try with you. And I went to a dance school. I tried with real beginners, and that's where I started
Okay.
to like it. But yeah, first it was tough. It was a rough start with salsa.
Man, that's interesting because most people, I hear the cliche story of, I went to a class or went to a social, got introduced there, but realizing, you kind of stepped in really into the sharks and already in a cycle. And, kudos to you realizing, you still were kind of far behind, but then having friends kind of reintroduce you and that kind of be the turning point. So, when taking those classes, was there a certain point or how long do you think it took for you to kind of say, I'm getting the hang of this? I think we lost it. Let's see. I think we should be good. Hold on 1 second. Guys, again, thank you so much. Right now, we are having an interview with the one and only Olivier from DotCreativ. Right now, we're experiencing some technical difficulties. We will be back shortly. Let's see if we can get Olivier back on. Again, right now, this story is amazing. Just hearing his start, his journey, his process. It's definitely not easy, especially going into dance, not having the the correct teachings at one point or understanding what it is. But I think it's very important that people, of course, sometimes things you are not familiar of, it is okay to keep going and keep learning. Right now, we're trying to get him back on. He should be back on any minute now. But again, guys, even before we get back to this, want to give a big shout out to everyone this weekend. Hope you are staying safe. I think we've got him back on. Oh, we're good. We're good. Don't worry about it. We're good. Hey man, it happens. Technical difficulties. It's all good. But I know I was asking you earlier was, you know, was there a certain point when you kind of got back into classes that things started to click for you?
Um, yeah, I think for guys, it's tougher than for let's say for leads, it's always
Mhm.
tougher than for follows, because for leads you have to learn the steps, but you have to learn to be at, I mean, to have the rhythm too, to be on the count, and
Mhm.
you have to learn how to lead as well, to have those
Yeah.
three things. So I think for leads, like the learning curve is super hard at first. It's kind of slow. Like it starts slow, but then when you start to click, as you were saying, it goes fast. But for
Mm.
follows, I feel like you start really fast and then you plateau, I think. And for me, it was tough for I think 3-4 months. I was like, I enjoy going out with my friends, but I know I'm not good. I suck. My leading like is zero because I didn't know that leading was important. I was like, well, I'm just gonna do the
Yeah.
steps I've learned and that's it. And
Wow.
and yeah.
Hey, I mean, I appreciate the honesty. Hey, because not everyone just gets it right on the board and is in it. So, but I also find it interesting is that you said your first introduction into kind of the dance world, you can say, was salsa. And that's actually many people that I've heard of, especially bachata dancers now. Their first introduction really to the scene was through salsa. So I do find that interesting. So now my question to you is, while learning in France, did you ever happen to perform or go into any like actually teams afterwards, or did you kind of just make your trip to the US from there and kind of start more there?
Yeah, so it's funny. I think, well, at least when I was in France, I think teams were another thing. I don't have any memories of teams. So I don't think it was
Mhm.
something in France. I think you start to have a few now, but it's not as big as here in the US.
Oh
So,
yeah.
and as you said, I started with salsa, and the difference with the US is, I think in France or in Europe in general, usually when you learn salsa, when you go out dancing salsa, it's Cuban salsa, it's casino salsa,
Mm.
and it's not on one. Yeah, on one. When we call on one in France, we call it Puerto Rican salsa.
Ah, okay.
And it was funny. I didn't know that difference. To me, salsa was salsa. So I had my casino steps.
Yeah.
And then when I moved to the US, I went to some salsa clubs and I was like, wow, it's super weird. It doesn't look like the salsa I know. It's different. And I started to realize, okay, that's not the salsa I know. It's something
It's something different.
weird. So super.
Man, hey, that I mean that's I hear that a lot of times from people I know who are from other countries. They, especially those who come, people I know a lot of times from the other part of the world, they're coming here to train with some of the best teams, and they're just coming to enjoy a different lifestyle, which it can be very fast paced. You, of course, like you said, making the trip to San Diego, that being your place of residency when you came to the States. For me, I've known San Diego's had a great dance community for quite some time. So, what was that introduction to dance like for you in San Diego?
Wow. Okay, so in San Diego, so I moved with my cousins.
Hmm.
I moved to the US, and so I have two cousins, and one of them is Tony. So shout out to Tony because he took a big place of my journey in the dancing
Hmm.
and in the video scene as well. But going back to Tony, he's got a daughter, and his daughter was going to school with David and Jennifer Stein's daughter as well.
Hmm.
So they're starting to connect. And then I told him, well, I dance too. So if you want, we can go to one of David and Jennifer's class.
Yeah.
And I can introduce you to dancing and show you how fun it is and how you can enjoy dancing. So
Hmm.
it took a few months, and then we went to a class with him. And then that's where we're starting to connect a little more with Jennifer and David Stein, and that's basically how it started. And then we're starting to do a little, let's say, helping them a little bit with their business. Tony is more into the accounting business, so he helped
Yeah.
them, everything accounting wise for Majesty in Motion. And then me, I was mostly about like the tech stuff, like the computer. So he told me, well, if you want, you can try to help David and Jennifer on whatever is decorated in the studio and as well for the website. So
Mhm.
that's where I was starting to get a little more involved in the dance scene in San Diego.
Wow. So then, like you said, kind of then working with Majesty in Motion, how did becoming a videographer even come about?
So how I become a videographer from Majesty,
Yes.
that's weird. So we did that business consulting with Tony and Donnie. There was three of us doing some consulting business for Majesty. And at one point, after 2-3 years, we were like, well, maybe we should try to advertise our little group. So
Mhm.
one day, Donnie was like, oh, you know what? We should go to one of the social of Majesty and shoot a little video for us and to promote our little group. So we're
Yeah.
like, okay, let's try. But we didn't have any idea of what we're doing. Just like Donnie brought his camera and was like, oh, I brought a camera, but we didn't know exactly who
Yeah.
would edit,
Yeah.
how would that go. We're just like, oh, let's do a little video. And then because I did a little video editing before, but it was really like small stuff, like,
Yeah.
like vacation films and like,
Mhm.
like family videos. Not,
Yeah.
and it was bad. And it was bad. I was the only one that knew a little bit how to use the camera and how to edit. So I did a little video there. That was just okay, I would say. But David and Jennifer saw it and they were like, "Whoa, that's actually not that bad." So they had a new venue, like I think a couple of weeks later, and they
Mhm.
wanted to promote. So Tony asked me, "Well, do you want to try to do a video for Majesty for that event?" And it was like, "Okay, let's try. I mean, nothing to lose." And I tried. It was okay. It was not the
Yeah.
greatest video, but it was okay. But at least it got my foot in the door, and I was starting to do more videos there.
Man, that's awesome that you actually got that opportunity to start filming Majesty in Motion. And it was also funny how, you kind of, you're saying, of course, your skills back then are totally different now. But I say that's part of the journey for me as well. Side note, starting in New York, there were very few videographers that I knew of. And for me, going to an event like Bachatu years ago, which was run by Island Touch, I started bringing my camera and filming the parties. And people were like, hey, how about you bring that camera to a social? And I grinded 300 plus socials in all these years. And it was because I wanted to learn. For me, I think it was a different purpose. Being a performer, transitioning to videography, I said, now I want to capture these same dancers in a different light than they're used to. Because just like your videos, it's called growth and progression. You're going to grow from your first video. The first video you make from years ago, when you look at it now, it's like, whoa, who is this person making it? But,
Mhm.
that was part of the process. I mean, and they took a chance on you. So
Yeah.
what was that like initially? You're working with Majesty in Motion. This is different than you're doing a short film, a vlog. No, you're at a social dancing event, people all around, people dancing. How were those initial times filming at socials?
That was a little weird because I used to go to these socials to dance, and now
Yeah.
people know my face. I mean, I was going out basically like every night of the week, and San Diego is a small city, so everyone knows everyone. So when I was starting to bring my camera, it felt weird to me, but I was
Yeah.
starting to get a little more confident,
Mhm.
and I think what I'm still a little shy with right now
Yeah.
is the lights. I don't like putting the light too much on dancers because
Mhm.
some may not bother and some
Yes.
may hate it. And you have to read the cues to understand. Okay,
Yes.
it's
You
hard.
you know exactly what you're talking about, because that was my also big thing. Was I think also, I'm not gonna lie, I think it's really a genre thing, because the salsa dancing socials, in my opinion, have a different atmosphere than bachata and zouk and kizomba. Even in terms of the lighting, I notice, in my opinion, salsa socials are more high lit, people a little bit more used to a light coming around them. When I think those other styles, don't get me wrong, there are videos of people who do it, but it seems a little more intimate, seems a little more personal, seems a little more dark. I
Mhm.
mean, is that something you kind of see?
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely something I see. So
You know, and so my question to you is, then you learning that process, because I've hear a lot of people, a lot of videographers that I talk to, that's a lot of their biggest issue is understanding the crowd, because nothing's, I mean, I've seen it of, you have a subject you're filming, but the subject behind you on the corner is kind of messing up the shot. And it's I've seen it all, but for me, I think, like I said, doing those 300 plus socials that I've done thus far helps me study my circumference, helps me understand, because I do things of, and I've told videographers this, I do the deer in the headlights test. It's more of panning my camera or my light not towards you, but the subject next to you, to feel your reaction when light is brought up. Because, hey, I know what it's like of, you're having a great time and then boom, a light is in your face. And then either you're going to shine or you're going to kind of fade out. But, my question to you is then, what was the transition like for you going from the social setting to now going to a congress or festival?
that was it happened, I would say, organically. I didn't know when I first went to shoot a congress. I didn't know what I didn't know what to expect. Actually, I just thought it was, oh, just gonna be a big social. I didn't know it was that intense.
Yeah.
It's like 3 days only shooting, and lately I've been trying to edit on the go. So while I'm the festival, so it's even more work. It's less sleep too. So it's a different animal, I would say. Social is fun,
Yeah.
but it looks like festivals. There's always something going on.
Oh yes. Oh
You
yes.
don't
Oh
want to
yes.
miss any piece, right? So
It's true, and that's why I've seen a lot more of there being media teams at events. Don't get me wrong, is it's going to be hard to catch everything.
yeah,
But I would say the more people, I wouldn't even just say the more people you bring on your team is essential. I just think you need to have people with the same vision, but not being afraid to be creative and taking chances. Because again, like you said, a social is not like a congress. A congress, 3 days, you might get 10 hours of sleep max.
yeah,
If you are, depending on how far in you are, but it's different than you just filming a demo, filming a performance, filming backstage, anything. I mean, you got artists all around. You got a socials that don't end till maybe 6, 7 in the morning. I mean, hey, I feel your pain. But a question I have for you is, going from the majesty and motion videos to, of course, over time, you're being able to be more introduced into the scene. Did you feel like your level, or was there a moment that you realized my creativity within the lens that I'm having or what I'm shooting, my creativity level was growing?
yeah. I think it was. I think just like you said, like the more video you do, and the more you learn from the mistakes. Let's say you review some videos, and you're like, oh, I think now I would have shot this video differently today because I have more
Yeah.
experience. I've watched more videos too because I learn a lot from watching other videos, and not only dance videos, but it could be like documentaries, or it's
Yes.
interesting because before doing videos, I was just, when I was watching a movie or documentary, I was just watching and that's it. Now I happen to trying to understand why why that angle, why do I feel a certain way when I'm watching it, and I'm trying to like to break down a little bit how that works, and I'm
That's
starting
true.
to introduce few things in my videos.
I know, absolutely. I mean, we've seen it from the video we just posted early in the intro. That really looking like a full-fledged movie. But for me as well, I think also as a videographer myself, what I paid attention to was not only the storyline, but the angle shots, but the color grading. I knew why this scene was going where, why it was doing this, why that angle was here, because I can see, that's, I guess that's the videographers in us. we analyze stuff. For me, I appreciate and value your work because you're not just a person that just has a camera or a $3,000 camera and says, boom, I'm going to make great stuff. It took time. It took practice. It took going to event after event after event for you to grow. Because I think that's great. It's studying film. You study your work so you
Mhm.
know what you can do and get better at. So, over time, like you said, you've gotten to do congresses and festivals. For you, and I'll leave that question for the ending of our convo at the randoms. But a question I do actually have for you now is, what was it like going from San Diego now, and then you're actually working in Austin?
Yeah.
How did
Yeah.
that even?
How does that happen? Well, first, I enjoyed my time in San Diego. I spent 5 years there, and it was great. I mean, I love my time in San Diego, but I thought it was time for me to find new challenges, like professionally, and I
Mhm.
got a job offer in Austin, so I moved to Austin. It's 2 years now, 2 years ago, and
Wow.
and it was different. I mean, plus I moved like right before the pandemic, so
Yeah.
well, like a year and a half. I mean, even though I was in Austin, I barely knew the city, and I
Mhm.
barely knew the dance scene as well. So I was kind of lost, video wise, in Austin,
Mhm.
because I didn't have. I mean, I was telling you, like Tony, my cousin in San Diego, he was a huge help, for me to start in San Diego. He's a he's the social part of our duet, sort of. I'm the doer, but he's the social. He does all the talks, and he goes to see people and seeks opportunities, and if he sees any opportunities, then he brings me in. But I didn't
Hey,
have.
I mean, you know the role in a sense, but I would say now is that having you here means a lot for me because you being so used to being behind the lens, I wanted people to get an understanding of who the person is that is creating these amazing works. I mean, especially your last visuals you did at BIG San Diego, the works you've been doing with Austin and different people like Kaylor and others as well. For me, I watch it. Being in New York, it's like, hey, I want to see a visual that's going to inspire me to maybe create a shot similar to that or understand why you did this. Because again, the events you've done and done and done over and over and over, they're great. But for many people, it's almost like, what are you doing now? But for me, I love just appreciating what you've been able to do because I think people don't understand the time it takes to do editing. They don't understand that when you're filming a social, you're not only filming 5 shots. You may be filming 50 shots, and then the editing that goes in that. But also to see the joy, especially in the comments, when people can appreciate your work, and that's why I have people like you here because a lot of our stories aren't told. A lot of our journey isn't heard
Mhm.
and for me, this is important. This is a building moment because, like you said, you've come from France, went to San Diego, now in Austin. You're still repping San Diego no matter what. You
Yeah,
know,
man.
you got to have the Padres, but for me to see your success is great because, again, for I think us in the videography scene, the dance videography specifically, I mean, it's great to just see inspiration. It's great to see new work coming out. So, of course, we've been through this pandemic, but now in 2022, things are getting a bit to, of course, a normalcy. Of course, we've had events like BIG San Diego and many events popping back up. So, really, before now we get into our last segment called the randoms, my question for you, Olivier, is what are really some of your plans for the future? 2022 and beyond. And I would say things that you can speak of, because I know there's some projects people like to keep quiet, but is there anything you're really looking forward to this year?
Um, Not really, actually. I mean, I'm just gonna keep doing what I do, and we'll see what happens. Right now, I'm just in the stage where I'm trying to grow and to have people know more about my videos, and
Mhm.
eventually, people reach out and we'll do some collaboration and do some awesome contents. But right now, I want to be more like, I would say involved, but I will be more like, mm, yes, settling more in the Austin scene.
Mhm.
Um, and working on that, working as well in San Antonio with Jonathan and Isabel from Esta Noche.
Yes.
So that's great. And Texas brought like a lot of opportunities ever since we moved here. So I just hope it's going to keep going, and then we'll try to make that happen. But so far, yeah, I don't have like set plans for 2022.
I mean, hey, anything can happen. And honestly, with your work, I can't wait to see what event you're up to next. Because I would say this, I definitely love the Esta Noche video you did at the roller rink. That one was really, I always wanted to ask about what was that like? Because I saw that video.
Oh,
Like,
wait,
were you on skates when you were filming that?
oh no, the roller rink, that was Jonathan that did it. I
Oh
wasn't
wow!
technically.
Oh my god! I thought that was you doing
Um,
that.
I do roller skate, so next time I'll try to make it there and hopefully get some great content too.
Gotcha, man. But now it helps us transition now to one of my favorite moments of interviews is the segment called the randoms, which is about 10 questions here that I have that may deal with dance, that may deal with film, may deal with everything in between. So we are actually going to get started. This first one, we're going to take it all the way to France.
Okay.
And I want to know from you, what's your favorite dish in France?
Wow, what's my favorite dish in France? Wow, so weird. I would say it's not really my favorite, but it's the one that I can rarely eat here. It's a steak tartare. So it's
Oh,
with French fries
yes.
usually. So it's
Wow, okay.
yeah, it's pretty good. I kind of miss it actually.
And that's interesting. You said French fries instead of pommes frites.
Oh
That's
yeah,
see, I see the American in you.
exactly. Yeah, because as a French guy coming to the US, when you hear French fries, you're like, so weird to call that French fries because in France we call it fries. We don't call it French fries, so we don't know
Yeah.
why.
Hey, it is what it is, but hey, I definitely love me some pommes frites now and again. And I definitely love me a good steak tartare prepared safely. So
Right. Yeah.
definitely. All right, next question I have here is what is a pet peeve of yours on the dance floor? As a videographer, many of us, we're filming and, sometimes we're filming someone and someone sees that camera is kind of wanting to butt in. But I would say more from your standpoint, what's a big pet peeve or what would you tell people are some not good things to do if you're trying to get on? Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is what you shouldn't do.
Well, I think the first thing that come in mind, and that may not really answer the question, but my pet peeve on dance for while filming is people like walking like right in front of camera when
Yeah.
I think they see that you're filming, but they're like, okay, cool. I mean, I'm trying to do a video and then you're just walking in front of my camera, but I guess that's fine. that's
I mean, I would say that's the American hospitality sometimes, but hey, I mean, it happens. And I think people don't realize, I get it. We can edit that out, but maybe if you weren't there, you could have got the full understanding of that shot. But, it happens. All right, next one here. This should be fun. If you could choose the closing act at a festival, and I'm going to throw this actually, BIG San Diego, if you could choose the closing act on a Saturday night, who would it be?
Wow, that's a tough one. That's a really tough one. There's just so many great artists out there, but I think I'm more into bachata. So I would say to
Okay.
me, the best dancer in bachata is obviously Daniel and Desiree. And I've never really seen them performing live. So that would be my pick. I would think Daniel and Desiree, definitely that would be it.
Hey, and I love is that you admitted it. You went from a salsero to a bachatero, and it's all good. Hey, music is music, bachata is bachata. But hey, for me, I'll tell you this: Daniel and Desiree meeting them years ago, just seeing their impact globally, not just in Spain but across the world. Bachata sensual, to be honest, especially in Texas. I have to say, Texas has one of the best bachata communities, whether it's San Antonio, Dallas, Austin, and you name it. I definitely appreciate how much Texas has brought. All right, this next one should be very, very interesting. I want to see your answer. So you have the last song of the night at your favorite event, but you can only take one person out. Who will that be?
All right, that's my answer, and that's gonna be my wife.
Very good answer. Very good answer. Hey, I mean, I definitely don't blame you at all. Very good answer. All right, this one should be very interesting. So we know as creatives, we love to create. But my question to you is, if you aren't creating, what are you doing?
Oh, you mean besides video or creating in general?
Absolutely. Creating in general, whether it's a dancing, if you're not doing any of that, what hobbies do you do? Or what's something we would be seeing you doing besides just the creative process?
So it's another hobby, but it's still creative. I mean, I used to for many years I did graffiti. So I
Oh
still,
my God.
I
Hey, I didn't want to admit that myself. I have my days of graffiti back in New York, so.
of course you have to, right? And
Yeah, of course, of course.
so I did that for I think 10 plus years, and I kind of miss doing that. But it's still like something creative. So, and it's funny, in every creative activity, I kind of like see the same patterns. I see how the journey, how it starts, how it evolves, how you get inspiration from others, and how you enhance your work. And I think for graffiti and video, I see the same pattern. It's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can see beyond the lines, you can see beyond the colors, you see already the finished product really before it's even there. All right, this next one should definitely be interesting. As videographers, we all have our preferences, but for you, what is your favorite or preferred frame rate?
Whew, that's a tough one. I would say if my camera will allow me to do that, that will be 4K 60 frames per second, because you can do.
Oh, yeah.
You can slow down so much, and you can zoom in so much with 4K as well. So hopefully one day I get a camera that does 4K 60 frames per second. But
Yes, I love that. I love that. I mean, hey, what about a 4K 120? I don't want to say it too. Yeah, that's the ultimate,
that'd be great. That'd be great.
Hey, I tell you this is that with already your vision in your eye, once that camera comes in your possession, God bless, man, because I see the work that's going to come from that. All right, now we are at our seventh question, and this one is a little more introspective. Can you give us a fun fact about you?
Wow. Okay. Fun fact about me: I'm a huge sneakerhead. I collect shoes. I have over, I would say, 150 pairs of shoes here in the US.
Wow.
I slowed down lately because, I mean, money was tighter too, and space was tighter too, and wife is not as happy as before too. So I had to slow down a little bit. I collect shoes because back in the days when I was a kid, I saw all these shoes that I couldn't afford. Now I see them. I have a little more money, than trying to catch up with my childhood dreams.
Hey, man, I appreciate that. You definitely are a sneakerhead for sure. I know California has a lot of great sneaker conventions, so that's really interesting. All right, this one here is going to be maybe a little bit controversial. Let's see your answer to this one. So we know that you're originally from France, but this question here has divided countries. Who has the best bread, Italian or French?
How can that divide people? I mean, obviously the French bread. Italian bread. Come on.
I had to check.
No, French all the way. I mean, French, and we can even talk about soccer. I mean, soccer all the way too. I mean, Italy, sorry, you're not as good as us.
I love the honesty in that, man. I love it. All right, now it brings us to our second before last question. And this one now pertains to San Diego. So, can you give me one word to describe San Diego?
Sunny. I would say sunny. Okay. I could have said expensive, but
oh yes, I've been to San Diego. It is very expensive.
Yeah,
that's why I went to San Ysidro, and I got a little cheaper in the price.
There you go.
Yeah.
But let's keep it positive, and I would say sunny about San Diego. Yeah.
Okay, I like that. I like that answer. All right, our last question here should be very, very interesting. I always ask this question to many of my guests because when we're having these conversations that we do, what gets lost before we have this conversation is many people or many artists like us don't really take a time to look back at everything we've done. Look back at the contributions we laid, the impacts we made, the influences we provided. But this question to you um, means a lot because I want people to be able to look back and for you to look back at yourself and kind of reflect. So the question I have for you is, and it is coming right now because I am writing it because it's something I love to ask. Yeah, this is it. It is, how would you like to be remembered?
Wow, that's a tough one. I would just say reliable. Reliable not only work wise, but as well like friendship wise and relationship wise. Like reliable in any ways. To me, being reliable, it's a quality that kind of tends to to be rare. People are flaky a lot and could be for work,
Yes,
for other things,
yes.
and I think it's a great quality to have. So yeah, I would say reliable will be something I would like to be remembered of.
I appreciate that, man. It's just also too what we've talked about as well was there was a post I wrote about why I do what I do. Because I think too, as content creators, we may not always see the impact or the outreach of our products firsthand or immediately, but a lot of times it's throughout the years that people look back at your content and can look back and say, "Wow." But maybe sometimes we're not there to see that or hear that. And for me, I'm really happy that we could do this segment because I feel like it brings a lot of levity. And I love bringing that question normally to the end because it's like a lot of artists felt like they never even had the time to take a step back and think about, wow, I've done so much. And like you said, reliable is a great word because, again, this scene, everything, people can be flaky. People, I rather loyal people who are going to be very honest with me than people who are just going to give me say what I want to hear. And to see how far you've gone, it's great. From one visual artist who will never thank you for what you do and your contributions. It means a lot. You inspire many people like myself and others, and sharing your work is just the least I can do. And again, thank you for doing this segment, and it helps us now transition to the conclusion of our talk today. And honestly, Olivier, from being able to, get a glimpse of your life and stages through this talk today was special. Of course, our lives are much more expansive. We're like an onion that has so many layers. But at least today we got a little bit of an introduction into who you are, and I thank you for coming on. And at least before we go, if you had any last few words for myself in the audience, but also contact info on how people can collab with you, how people can work with you and see what you're up to next.
Yeah, well, first, I want to thank everyone that's been part of my journey, and especially David and Jennifer starting in San Diego, and Tony Huang as well has been helping me so much from the start, and now in Austin, so many people to thank, like Fabian from Inspired Movement,
Yes,
Kaylor as well, and Jonathan and Isabel J Square from Esta Noche too. I love working with them, and they gave me good opportunities, and I hope it's gonna keep going. So all these people, they've been part of my journey in the dance video. Or Angie and Audrey too. I totally forgot about them, but totally love doing a video with them. That was awesome. And yes, that's pretty much all the people I want to thank, and obviously you too. You just inviting me here and thinking that I could have something interesting to say. That's
absolutely, man.
it's already done. And of course, last but not least, my wife. She's always
Yes.
supportive, and actually, I like to say that she's the real artistic director. She's
Mm.
the one that gives me feedback on my videos. She's the one that tells me, okay, that's not good. That needs to be redone. That needs to
Yeah.
be done something differently. So shout out to her. She's one of my biggest help.
Absolutely, man. And how can people reach you? As it Instagram, Facebook? How can people reach out to you?
Yeah, mostly it's going to be on Instagram. So .creativ, it's underscore .creativ, one word, and underscore again. That's the best place to reach me. And then you can see some of my videos there too.
Perfect, man. Honestly, again, Olivia, to have you here means a lot. Again, from one artist to another, it's an honor to have a person who's put so much work in throughout these past few years, who's been able to create visuals that people absolutely love and they share and share and share. And for me, it's about the collaborative unity we all should have, because just like we celebrate the events we go to, we celebrate the artists we love. It is even more imperative that we celebrate and appreciate visual artists like yourself that have done so much. And I definitely can't wait to see what you have coming next. And everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to the live discussions at Diamond Podcast. I believe this is episode 190. Here with the one and only DotCreativ. Thank you guys for tuning in. This episode will be on Spotify in the future. And everyone, please check out DotCreativ on Instagram. Guys, stay safe. Have a great night. Take care. See you soon.